Here on Down the Right Field Line, we're going to break down the Marlins Infield and see what's in store for the 2012 season. And what is Jose Reyes going to do with his dreadlocks? All that and more coming up next. Welcome to the latest installment of Down the Right Field Line. If you want, you can click on any of the links below me and fast forward to any of the segments that we're going to be talking about during the show. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to break down the Marlins roster, and we're going to go, position by position and kind of give an overview of what they did last season and a projection of how things will shake up in 2012. And we're going to hit it off right in the infield. We're going to start off with John Buck, catcher for your Miami Marlins. Last year, Buck hit for a poor 227 with 16 home runs and 57 RBIs. 227 is way down from the 280 that he hit in Toronto in 2010. But Robert, if you look at his career in the past, that's been his thing. He hasn't been hitting for a high average.
Well, you also kind of saw his power go down a little bit from where it was with Toronto. But I always saw the catcher position, especially with the Marlins. You always kind of see that guy as the leader of the pitching rotation. And, we've had guys like CJ, Pudge Rodriguez, and you never really depend on them for their hitting, even though they were great hitters. You wanted them to lead your rotation, and both of those guys did, and I think that's what John Buck's going to bring. Remember what he did with Leon Nunez, aka Juan Oviedo. He changed him. He got him throwing his slider more, and he got a little bit more consistent towards the beginning of the season. So John Buck, to me, as long as he continues his defense and his the way he manages that rotation, he can hit under, below the Mendoza line for all I care.
Well, and you brought up the point on defense. Last year, throwing out runners, it wasn't necessarily an all-star performance behind the plate, if you will. There's got to be some things there that I think he has to improve in order to gain that what we signed him for. Now to first base, where we do have our incumbent first baseman and all-star in 2011, Gaby Sanchez. Gaby, he was on fire early in the season and kind of tailed off in the second half, and it came out to hitting 266, 19 home runs, 78 RBI. We need to expect more from him. What happened last year?
It's one of those, you can say kind of like a sophomore slump type thing. Gaby Sanchez has all the tools to be a really good offensive and defensive first baseman. It's just, bringing those tools together. And that's why I think a guy like Dobbs is key on a team like this, just because you have that veteran experience to say, maybe Dobbs wasn't a good first baseman or third baseman, but he knows what the rigorous 162 games feels like. And he can, bring that experience to a guy like Gaby Sanchez. And everybody wanted Pujols, everybody wanted Prince Fielder, but they forgot that we have a guy like Gaby Sanchez that not only is he from Miami, but also he has great pop. Maybe one of these years he's going to get up to, I think, 30 home runs, maybe this coming year. I expect big things from Gaby Sanchez in this year, and my prediction is that he'll get over 25 home runs this year, if not over 30.
Wow. Unfortunately for me, I can't say the same. For some reason, that low crouch that he has just to me, I mean, I guess for some players it works. I don't see how it works for him. He either needs to alter his stance or something, because the guy, we know he has tremendous ability, and I think I've talked to you before, I've compared him to Mike Lowell in the sense of how he carries himself about in the clubhouse or just on the field. You know, he is capable of it, but I don't know about next year being that year. And at second base, we have Omar Infante, who was acquired last offseason in the Dan Uggla deal from the Braves, was brought in here to play full-time second base. And he started off a little rocky at first, which is understandable, obviously, coming into a new situation and having an everyday job. But he finished off the year nicely. So you started to see Infante kind of get comfortable as the year went on. The defense was superb, was incredible. And I think, just like Buck, I think we got Infante more for that on-field presence.
Yeah, I think the thing with Infante, though, is I want to see a little bit more consistency. With last year, you saw a lot of key situations where Infante comes up and you're like, okay, this is the guy I want to have in this situation, and he pops the ball up on the first pitch or something like that, which you don't want to see that. I would rather have a guy ground to the third baseman because you can at least see that he's on the ball than do a pop-up. But, you know, his defense paid for it, you know, tenfold. Infante got to so many more balls than Uggla would have gotten to. And those double plays that he turned were like, I mean, you haven't seen anything. Even on opening day, he made a barehanded throw to first base, which I don't think I've ever seen Uggla make a barehanded play in that situation. And I'm excited for another year of Infante and maybe more to come. Now, as far as predictions, what do you got for Infante for 2012?
Well, let me strengthen your point on the popping up in key situations. His batting average with balls in play was .298. So if you can have that batting average, if you can make contact with the ball, like you said, and put it on the ground or whatever, that batting average will skyrocket. And I think it will this year. I think he'll range from the 295, 300. But the key for him is that batting average, runs scored, batting average with runners in scoring position, and 2 outs, so on and so forth. And defensively, I don't even have to worry about it. The guy should be a Gold Glover, and we should be seeing big things from Omar this year. Now we're moving on to third base. Yep, third base this year. Well, last year we had a plethora of third basemen, but this year, our shortstop from last year, Hanley Ramirez, is moving to third base this year. Last year, you know, Hanley was not Hanley. He had a poor year. People say, well, he got injured. Fine, but if you look at the beginning of the season, he never got it going. He managed to steal 20 bases, which I thought, the numbers, all the numbers went down, definitely. But hopefully this year, a healthy Hanley Ramirez equals a great Hanley Ramirez. And what are your thoughts on last season and what to expect from him this season?
I am really excited for the third baseman, Hanley Ramirez. Don't get me wrong, he did a great job at shortstop. But being at third base, he's going to be able to make all those fantastic plays, diving, and all the different things he does at a much smaller space, just at third base. It's going to take some adjusting. I mean, third base is a very hard position. That's why they call it the hot corner. But I think Hanley, the true professional he is, this guy's a ball player. He can play third base. He'll make the adjustment just fine. A lot of you guys need to start getting behind this guy. Remember, Hanley Ramirez is the Marlins. Can't forget that he's only a few seasons removed from the 30-30 season. This guy has plenty of speed. That pop's going to come back easily once he gets his swing going. And he's also a few seasons removed from winning the batting title. So 342, this guy has all the tools to be able to hit consistently. He just needs to get all that back together. And I'm actually predicting for Hanley Ramirez a 30-30 season.
That's pretty interesting. You know, the one thing I may have to disagree there is on the stolen bases. Yes, he has speed, but I feel like the bigger the guy gets, the slower he's going to get. Don't get me wrong, the guy's going to steal at the very least, 20 bases, but I think it'll be from that high 20s range, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's going to lose it completely and steal 10 bases. The guy can run. I'm just skeptical on whether it'll reach that 30-30 mark. And now moving on to our latest addition in the infield, Jose Reyes. That's spent his whole career with the Mets, I should say. He was able to win the batting title, stole 39 bases in 126 games with a 337 batting average. The guy can run like Hanley. The guy can play defense. The guy can get on base. And that's the type of guy that the Marlins needed at the top of the lineup. What can we expect from Jose Reyes in 2012?
The thing I'm actually most excited about Jose Reyes is his defense. Just imagine the 1-2 punch with Infante and Reyes covering that middle part of the infield. So these two guys are going to be powerhouses defensively, and Reyes has an awesome arm. And they're going to solidify that infield. They're going to bring the infield back to how we used to have it when we were pitching, defense, and speed. But, Reyes can get to 300 and so can Hanley. So when you have guys like that in the front of the lineup, and then you get to Stanton, Lomo, and Gaby Sanchez, you're going to score a lot of runs. So I'm really excited about that speed and the runs that are going to start coming in because of all of the guys we have batting in the front of the lineup.
Definitely. I couldn't agree with you more.
What's your prediction, before you go on, what's your prediction as far as stolen bases from Reyes?
45? Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I don't see him going crazy like he did a few years ago with, 71, something like that?
I mean, you never know. I mean, if he starts getting healthy consistently, the sky's the limit with this guy. He's still young, so, we'll see where he goes.
Definitely. Well, that wraps it up for infield talk. Next week, we're going to go over the outfield and projections and outlooks for next year. Well, as we know, Jose Reyes signed a contract with the Marlins this offseason. And one thing that the Marlins weren't too keen on was Reyes' hair, his dreadlocks. And he's been made to cut his hair before the season starts. So Rob's going to be talking about the Marlins grooming rules on his fair or foul section.
So when Reyes signed, there was a lot of media speculation saying, how is this guy going to come to Miami with all the rules they have as far as facial hair, as far as hair length and all these things. And Reyes threw all that out of the window right away in the interview. When they did the press conference, they asked him, are you going to cut your hair? He said, yeah. That was one of the things they talked about before signing the contract. And Reyes said, that's not a big deal. And, I like guys like him because, it's being a true professional and saying, look, you're going to pay me $100 million. You want me to cut my hair? Done deal. Having said that, let's analyze the Marlins' stance on long hair. You're not allowed to have hair, I think, past the collar. The facial hair, it needs to be groomed, mustache. I think you can have a certain length of sideburns. But, Rafi and I were talking about this, and, a team like the Marlins doesn't need to have a rule like this. You have the rules like this with the Yankees. There's some teams that there's a lot of mystique that goes into wearing that uniform. Now, coming down to Miami, part of the atmosphere, going with all the colors in the uniform, it's kind of like a party atmosphere. This is a new age type of team. I think you should have some, goatees or a Brian Wilson type thing. It adds an extra something to the game. When you go out to face Brian Wilson, not only are you scared about his fastball, but you see that beard. It's a really intimidating beard. So that's just another aspect of the game. I think it's something the Marlins should look at again and say, look, we put this in when Girardi was our manager, and he was coming from New York, and that kind of made sense at that time. But now it's time to, get that off the books and let these guys grow beards and have fun, which is the most important thing here.
Thanks, Rob, for that insight, and we'll leave you guys with the question of the week. What do you guys think of the Marlins clean cut rule? Well, that's it for now. Be sure to check us out next week as we go over the Marlins outfield and other news concerning Major League Baseball. For now, we'll leave you with our random video of the week, which we like to call the Major League. Later.